Welcome back. Translation always plays a role in conveying messages, in exchanging ideas. The cultural heritage of every society is conveyed to another society via translation. And here, when it comes to Egypt, we are talking about a very rich country in everything. Many civilizations, and I'm always saying about Egypt that it was and it is the melting pot where all civilizations melted in, and we absorbed all that without losing or missing our Egyptian identity. To shed more light on the power of translation and to what extent it can play a role in promoting our cultural heritage to the world and conveying our cultural heritage to people all over the planet, we are very much delighted to have with us Dr. Heba Azedin, our renowned translator and writer. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Heba.
Thank you.
Before going into details, let's have your vision regarding translation as a way, as I said in my intro, in conveying messages, in conveying the richness of any cultural heritage to other cultures all over the world. And here I'm not only speaking about modern ages, but about all ages.
Of course, yes. As you said before, this is the role of translation. Translation is the bridge between not only different languages, but also different cultures. Without translation, without transferring the language from a culture into a culture, we couldn't have known the cultures. We couldn't have delivered our culture to the whole world from the old and past years. Of course, translation has a very huge role and a very vital role to transfer the culture all over the world through different ways. One of those ways are books. So when translators translating different books about cultures, about civilization, about history, all the world can know our Egyptian civilization, our Egyptian history. So in this way, we have transferred as translators the culture through books, also through video players, through
Subtitles
programs.
on movies or documentaries.
Of course, yes, translating the subtitles and translating the movies is one of the ways to transfer the cultures as well. And of course, here, when the translator is innovative, because when we're talking about translators, we're not talking about any translators. We should talk about the innovative translator that transfer and choose the words and terminologies that fit the culture and can transfer the vision and our civilization in the best way.
And how do you see the role of a translator to dive into his or her own civilization first before going through other cultures? Because without being a master in your mother tongue, you are not going to master any other language. True?
True, of course. You're talking about identity. We should have identities. Of course, if the translator doesn't have an identity, he cannot transfer the civilization, he cannot transfer other cultures. So we need to have our mother tongue, and we should know and we should master our civilization very well, our country very well, our history, in order to understand the other countries' history. And I think the best way is reading. When you read about other cultures, you know more about other cultures. But first, you need to understand your identity. You need to be proud of your identity and of your civilization.
After spending such time in translating and in the field of translation, how do you see translation as an active player, or one of the positive aspects of translation is to spread coexistence, tolerance, because when you understand the other, you are going to accept him. If you don't understand the other, how you are going to accept something which is hidden, which is not clear? So
Okay, of course. We're here talking about interpretation.
yes.
The interpretation is different way from translation. When you understand your culture, so you can talk about other cultures, as we said before, but the interpreter is, different than translation. Translation is written most probably, and interpretation is oral translation and direct translation. And also, we can say that you make the other understand the culture and understand the thoughts and the feelings.
Mm.
So my experience as interpreter, as well as translator, but as interpreter here, is the role of your question. So here we are, for example, when we have a translator or interpreter for some people as tourists,
Mhm.
we can say tour guides are sometimes interpreters already.
Yep.
So if the interpreter is clever enough and can interpret the cities or interpret we can say the facilities or the features of the cities or the features of some villages, some
Mhm.
historical villages,
And you
in a
know,
clever way.
I had an experience. I had a program uh, under the title of Proverbs Here and There. So, for example, I found that there is a proverb saying, if you do have a wax on your head, do not walk under the sun. And here we say the very same concept, but using other ways. If you have a glassy home, do not throw people with the stones. You know, such comparisons, or having this kind of interpretation, if I may call it this way, they might give us the will or the chance to be closer, to accept each other, to know that by all means we are all human beings by the end of the day. How do you see this as one of the ways to achieve that on the ground?
Of course, this is what we are saying, interpreting different or technical interpretation,
Mm.
a different class of interpretation, which is interpreting proverbs. I know there are so many books, there are so many MA degrees. My MA degree specifically related also part of it, a huge part of it, about old proverbs, old Egyptian proverbs, comparing with modern Egyptian proverbs, and
Oh,
it was, yeah.
what a coincidence! I didn't know,
Yeah.
I swear.
Yes, and its topic is irony.
Mm.
And it was really amazing because we're talking about different Egypt in the past and Egypt in nowadays, and when Egypt is kingdom and now when Egypt is republic. So it was really interesting, even for
Satire.
yeah, satire and
Satire.
irony. Yeah.
Satire is such a very interesting part of literature, and it's found, I think, all over the world. But here in Egypt, as we do enjoy such a sense of humor, so I think satire is part and parcel of our literature and our
Exactly.
public literature. True?
Exactly, exactly. Because Egyptians love fun all of the time, even the time of despair and even the time of the prosperity. Yeah,
Mm.
Egyptians love. They love to laugh all over the time, throughout the time.
How do you see the translation of historical texts and literature, their impact on not only tourism, but again on the relations among peoples, different peoples all over the world?
Yes, I see it through the work of translators and interpreters. For example, the interpreter, part of his job, he's traveling a lot because of his job.
Mm.
So he can know the clues of the cultures. He already faced, when you're hearing about Japanese style or Sudanese style, Arab and different countries or foreign countries, but you're just hearing. The interpreters faced already. The interpreters already talked with different cultures, so they know the clues of those people. For example, the Greek people, we are so stick to Greek people. They are very friendly. They are laughing all over the time. Also American people as well. So they are stick to different cultures and different foreign countries.
Dr. Heba, can you give us some examples of the translation of all texts which promoted tourism in specific?
Yes, there is a book which is called Egyptology.
Mm.
This book is really one of the well-known books, and you can find it in different shelves in different libraries. It talks about Egypt, the spirit of Egypt, and it's translated into 24 languages
Mm.
all over the world. So that I think this can be transferred, and we can transfer our culture to different worlds. And of course, Egyptology talks about the culture of Egypt, not only about the history or civilization of Egypt.
Dr. Heba, I wanted to focus on another side of the coin, if you permit me. Uh, n- Naguib Mahfouz is a Nobel laureate, so to translate his novels, for example, I think this is going to give foreigners or English speakers or German speakers or in any language an idea about modern Egypt in a way. And when he speaks about the allays in downtown Cairo, Islamic Cairo, taking into consideration the habits and customs of us at a certain point or a certain era, I think this is to promote Egypt. This is a kind of propaganda for Egypt, if I may call it this way. If you agree with me.
Of course, yes, because Naguib Mahfouz and Taha Hussein, all of those writers, they are, we can say that they are the writers who are pillars of of Egyptian history and Egyptian civilization and Egyptian identity as well. So translating their books and translating their novels can give the glimpse of the image of Egyptian life.
This is it.
Yes, so this glimpse, when transferred to other cultures, they can imagine how the Egyptian life, for example, rural areas, for example, cities, maybe civil life, when even the bibliography of Taha Hussein, when he traveled, when he come from his village, when he went to become the professor in the university. So those stages are repetitively stages in different writers, old writers and new writers as well. So this gives the glimpse and image to other cultures to know Egypt more.
Are the translators of these days more lucky than those of previous generations with Google Translate, with the modern technologies, with the IT, with stuff like that, or those who were with their own innovations and their own way to interpret and to translate, they made history, and because of that, they were more lucky?